What happens when America's most prestigious university becomes a treasonous marketplace, selling out our national security to the highest bidder? Well, the Trump administration has now blocked Harvard's ability to enroll international students, delivering a devastating blow to an institution that's become a foreign infiltration zone. This isn't just a policy change, it's a surgical strike against an Ivy League powerhouse that has been transformed from a beacon of American excellence into a dark bazaar of global manipulation. Imagine foreign powers walking through hallowed halls, trading research, spreading propaganda, and undermining everything we hold sacred. How deep does this betrayal go, and what secrets are hidden in those ivy-covered walls? Well, the truth will shock you beyond belief. No, don't look away. The reckoning is only beginning. Now, let me ask you this. Are you ready to transform your skin and unlock a youthful glow? A cutting-edge 2024 study shows that collagen can dramatically improve skin health. Women taking a daily collagen drink report fewer wrinkles, firmer skin, and better hydration. Well, this multi-collagen formula features 5 key types of collagen from 4 different sources. It's non-GMO, free of artificial additives, and blends effortlessly into coffee or shakes. And when you order today, you'll receive free VIP health coaching, a skin health ebook, and free shipping. Get 51% off during the promotion at healthwithgary.com. It's linked below. Okay, so Harvard. The foreign capture threatens American security, from CCP training camps to cadaver trafficking and pro-Hamas riots. The ivy that once shaped patriots now bankrolls tyranny and graft. Congress and DHS just lit the fuse, and we are breaking it all down. Now, I want to get to this clip here real quick, because here it is. Trump just blocked Harvard's ability to accept international students after revoking hundreds of millions in federal funding from the university. No more educating the enemies of America with taxpayer money.
Good. He went to Harvard when Harvard was good. It was a while ago. He went to
Game over for Harvard. Okay, let's get deeper into this now. Beijing grooming grounds. Harvard's Kennedy School, listen to this, quietly minted CCP elites for decades, earning the nickname Party School Number 2. Alumni helped crush Hong Kong and police Xinjiang. Lawmakers demand every syllabus and donor file before more spies slip through on campus. House Republicans launch investigation into whether Harvard aided the Chinese Communist Party. Lawmakers say they intend to hold Harvard accountable to the American people. Harvard, man, what a mess. The Capitol probe surge. House China Committee subpoenas Harvard over deals with XPCC paramilitaries, Tsinghua Labs, and Tehran tech centers. Elise Stefanik vows crimson cover-ups end now.
Penn presidents, too. There are foreign dollars who are propping up these pro-Hamas agitators and encampments. There are foreign dollars flowing in from communist China that are funding Confucius Institutes. We are taking action after action to hold them accountable. But make no mistake, the earthquake hearing that happened with Harvard, MIT, and Penn presidents, 2 of which are now former presidents, that set off an earthquake. And I will tell you, this did not just happen in the last 2 years. This is decades of intellectual and academic decay in our once great higher ed institutions. We need to get back to academic excellence rather than training this next generation of far left radical agitators. We need to focus on engineering, math, science, the classics, and instead they are training not the next generation of leaders, but the next generation of Marxists. There are foreign dollars who...
Let's keep going. Hidden foreign harvest. A Department of Education audit pegs $6 billion in undeclared gifts from Qatar, CCP fronts, and Saudi royals. Add Charles Leiber's Wuhan paycheck and Epstein's campus office. Harvard's ivory tower looks more like an auction block for influence worldwide. Here's more.
Including Qatar. Both Harvard and Yale are among the colleges under investigation for failing to report hundreds of millions of dollars in foreign gifts. The U.S. Department of Education is leading this investigation. Officials say they've uncovered more than $6 billion in unreported gifts from countries including Qatar, China, and Saudi Arabia.
Harvard failed to properly report hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gifts and foreign contracts. And this comes just weeks after a prominent Harvard scientist, Charles Lieber, was arrested on charges that he lied to federal authorities about his ties to China. Well, the federal agency sent Harvard a letter this week requesting information about foreign ties and funding. They're zeroing in on countries including China, Saudi Arabia, and Russia.
An official report from Harvard University is revealing the extent of Jeffrey Epstein's ties to that college. The review, completed at the request of Harvard's president, found the disgraced financier maintained his own personal office, with unlimited access on campus for a decade after his 2008 conviction. It also confirms Epstein, who donated millions to the school before serving time for soliciting sex with a minor.
Harvard grew its endowment to more than $53 billion in the latest fiscal year. The endowment's management company says public and private stock markets drove that growth. Harvard is the nation's wealthiest university. It ended the fiscal year in June with a $283 million operational surplus.
Officials say they've uncovered more than...
Let's keep going. The visa program nuked. DHS Secretary Noem yanks Harvard student exchange certification, no F1J1 visas for 25-26. Tens of thousands of foreign students must flee or transfer after Ivy Brass stonewalled records on violence and anti-Semitism for years.
Day based on...
Does that mean that the student visas of this freshman class won't be revoked? It will just be revoked for them to attend Harvard specifically. Is that right? I want to make sure I'm understanding the particulars.
Yeah, the decision that's made today based on what Harvard has done is specifically applying to that university, not to the individual students. So the university will no longer be able to participate in this program. They will not be allowed to have foreign students because we have gone back to them multiple times, asked them to disclose this information, which other universities have and need to do in order to participate in the student and exchange visitor program, and Harvard simply has not done it. Harvard has a history of allowing not just protests, but violent protests where students were assaulted, they were discriminated against, they were verbally abused, and they've even facilitated a training for a paramilitary group affiliated with the CCP. So it's not just pro-Hamas activities that they have allowed to have happen on their campus. They've also allowed participation with Communist China, who considers the United States one of their greatest enemies. This is something we're not going to continue to allow to have happen. This is something I'm responsible for, is to provide this type of oversight, and we're going to ensure that every university protects every single one of their students on their campuses, whether they're from the United States or another country. They need to be safe. They don't deserve to have this kind of anti-Semitic or any other kind of discrimination that may face them based on their race going forward.
72-hour record ultimatum. DHS orders Harvard to surrender 5-year files on assaults, threats, protests, and discipline within 72 hours, warning false info equals a felony. Ivy opacity is dead. Crimson lawyers are sweating now. Here is the official letter from the Department of Homeland Security. Harvard Student and Exchange Visitor Program decertification. Game over. And then we have this, the morgue horror market. Harvard Med's morgue chief pleaded guilty to carving up donated cadavers, shipping skulls and fetal tissue in bubble wrap for cash. That is what was going on at Harvard as well. If they can't guard the dead, why trust them with the living or even classified research partners? Yeah. Here's the headline. Former morgue manager pleads guilty to trafficking human body parts. Oh, my goodness. And then the Gaza hate hub. Reports show mobs chanting Intifada revolution while Jewish students barricaded in libraries. Harvard allowed encampments synced to Hamas telegrams as Qatari cash poured in. Safety and sovereignty just collided on campus. Who can ever forget these moments? This is Harvard University graduation ceremony turning into a stand of solidarity and support for Gaza. And then CNN reports the Trump administration froze $2.2 billion in grants to Harvard University after the university rejected a request to change its policies. Let's keep going. The cadre of comrades. Flashback, Harvard hosted PLA defensive scholars via CCP-approved fellowships while lobbying D.C. against tech export limits. Those labs soon surfaced in China's hypersonic missile breakthroughs aimed at the U.S. carriers.
While most joined, taking in $93.7 million. Every Harvard president since the 1990s has visited China. Harvard and the Chinese Communist Party and its institutions have built a wide scope of partnership programs. While most joint efforts focus on academic collaborations, one particular program has raised concerns and earned Harvard a Chinese nickname, which translates to the Chinese regime's second central party school. In the early 2000s, Harvard's Kennedy School of Government began training Chinese officials to help them, quote, address the ongoing challenges of China's national reform. Hundreds of Chinese officials, from mayors to provincial governors and vice ministers, took the training. Yet it appears there hasn't been any real sign of change in the regime. Among the Chinese officials who went through the training, some were later either investigated or sentenced for corruption. One was known for seizing a voice recorder from a reporter after he was asked a tough question, and another, a former justice official, said human rights lawyers will ruin the socialist rule of law. This former official and another who attended the training were also publicly called out for their involvement in the persecution of Falun Dafa, also known as Falun Gong. Falun Dafa is a Chinese spiritual practice. It has been persecuted by the communist regime for over 2 decades. Harvard graduate and spokesperson for the Falun Dafa Information Center, Zhang Erping, says the program risks legitimizing an authoritarian regime when it lends its name to Chinese officials.
Training the CCP officials, some of them probably involved in the policy of suppression of Falun Gong, Christian Church, or other dissident groups, they shouldn't be welcome here on campus.
Many institutions in the West assume that exposing leaders of the Chinese regime to the workings of a free society would help them accept Western norms, and they would...
America First Reset. Hill insiders preview an executive order auditing every IV for CCP ties, slashing NSF grants to offenders and rerouting STEM billions to patriotic land-grant schools, building missile shield chips, not Marxist manifestos. The Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. Lawmakers demanding answers from Harvard over ties to Chinese military, sanctioned entities, and the Iranian government. Man, all this happening at Harvard. Front Row Freedom. If this crimson collision shook you awake, smash follow right now. We are there in the press room covering it all. And here we have, this was posted a couple days ago, Republican Senator and former Governor of Florida, Rick Scott, on China at the Institute of Politics of Harvard Kennedy School. This was April 23rd, last month.
Yeah, it's going to be different. So here's my theory about China. I don't want to go to war. I don't like war. I served in the military. I didn't go to Vietnam. I served during Vietnam. But I think the only way we don't go to war with China is if their economy is demolished. Because I think if they have the money, we're going to war. If Russia has more money, they're going to keep expanding. They're going to do more. It's just who Putin is and who Xi is, and maybe it's who their government is. So my belief is we should do no trade with China. We should say today, you guys lie, cheat, and steal. Part of it, think about it. They're creating precursors that kill 78,000 Americans a year with fentanyl. They've never complied with the World Trade Organization. They don't comply with the terms of most favored nation. They don't comply with the Trump trade deal. There's not one thing they've complied with. So now if I did a deal with you and you lied to me, you think I'd do the second deal with you? No. I'd say, I don't want to do a deal with you. I don't trust what you're doing. I don't trust anything she says or does. I've got a friend in prison right now in China because he ran the newspaper in Hong Kong that talked about who she was. Jimmy Lai. He's been in solitary confinement for 4 years. That's what China is. So when I got to the Senate, I've been there 6 years now and 3 months, we bought 85% of the drones our federal government bought from China. Would you do that with your enemy? They decided to be our enemy. So it took me 5 years to just get the military not to buy them. It took me 6 years to finally our government, and now within 12 months, there will be no new Chinese drones licensed in this country. Our military still buys almost all of its drugs from China. Now that's stupidity. I mean, that is our logical, that's who's decided to be our enemy. This stuff's got to stop. Every time you buy anything from China, you're helping their government build a military to take away your freedoms. That's exactly what they're doing. They've already built, they have more ships than we do, they have more submarines than we do, they have a bigger military. They want to go to war with us. They want Taiwan. Taiwan is not part of China. Look at history. Taiwan was not, is very small part of history was Taiwan part of China. But they're gonna do it. They're taking away the sovereignty, the Philippines. Those shoals are not they never were part of China, but they're doing that. So they are a despicable government. Not the people, the government is despicable.
Would we be paying a cost if we try to make them poorer as our strategy? And is that a cost that's worth paying for a greater good of national security?
I think long term, I mean, what's more important to me than anything else is my freedom. I mean, freedom of this country, the freedom to do what I want to do, that's more important to me than anything else. So,
Charlie Kirk on young voters talking about they're shifting. A Yale survey shows 18 to 22-year-olds now lean Republican by 12 points.
Well, that's exactly right. And there's a lot of staying power. In addition to that, there was a Yale youth survey, which is considered one of the gold standards of how young people view politics, that shows that 18 to 22-year-old voters are 11.7 points preferring Republicans over Democrats. That's right, nearly 12 points that the younger voters are actually identifying more Republican than Democrat. You see, the Democrat Party, they took young people for granted and the next generation for granted. And also the entire American body politic. They have tried their best to try to convince themselves that MAGA is going to go away. But instead what we have found is a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-generational coalition of people of all different backgrounds that are supporting President Trump and his agenda. And President Trump deserves so much credit for fulfilling his promises. Today, he's going after Harvard's tax-exempt status. Finally, someone is willing to go after Harvard, which is just a glorified hedge fund with a college attached. He is securing the southern border. He's doing tariffs against China, fulfilling the mandate that he ran on. That is why younger voters and voters of all ages are supporting President Trump in even greater numbers than we saw in November. Well,
Amen. So let's close this out, because Harvard's foreign entanglements, they're not just a scandal. They're a national security nightmare. From CCP connections to pro-Hamas riots, our most prestigious institution has become a Trojan horse for America's enemies. But here's the burning question. How many more universities are selling out our country's future? We want to hear from you. Drop your theories in the comments about how deep this infiltration goes. Are these academic institutions or foreign spy networks? And are you looking to show your patriotic spirit? Head over to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and grab our latest merch and stand up for American values.